Hello everyone, welcome to I Today Apero number 5. Super excited to have all of you guys live. We have an amazing crowd today and people are coming, so this is really great to have everyone live. Can I ask you to turn on your camera and just say hi to the camera, everyone? Yeah! You can hear the crowd, right? Cool. Um, Thank you so much for joining live. This is I Today Apero number 5. And so, if you don't know what an apero is, it's kind of a tradition in Switzerland or France, a bit like a happy hour. And the idea is to drink wine with friends. You don't need to drink wine, you can drink whatever you want. But with friends, it's a casual talk. And basically, it's just a good time that you spend with friends. And it's really something that people enjoy in here. So, the tradition, because we have a little tradition, it's this. My family are winemakers and we love wine in here and we drink wine during the apero. So if you have wine, if you're watching and you have wine in your fridge, just go get some wine or something else to drink and we're gonna drink together. It's gonna be cool. And I have 3 bottles of wine. The first one, we're gonna open it in front of you and drink it during the talk. The second one, the second one is gonna go to Estonia today because Annette is gonna get the second bottle of wine for her hard work today. And the third bottle of wine is gonna go to one of you, not the people who are watching, but the people who are live, who will ask some great question or interact or just engage. And it's Annette who is gonna choose who is the lucky person who is gonna get the bottle of wine. We are crazy. We send worldwide. So even if you live super far, like Estonia, we're gonna send you your bottle of wine. How good does it sound? Yeah, I see that you look pretty happy here. So this is good. So we are based in Lausanne, Switzerland, and our amazing guest today is Annette Nouma, and she's gonna be live from Tallinn, Estonia. So just a bit of context of why we wanted to invite Annette so much. Maybe if you have followed a bit the news or the press, there is a horrible pandemic out there that's called the COVID pandemic crisis. And we are based in Switzerland and, people weren't really happy about the reaction of the country and especially the government. Especially, we are a very innovative country in general, but we felt that our tools, they were a bit outdated, they weren't working well during the pandemic. Just to give you one example, doctors during the first wave of COVID had to send some paper faxes to the administration to signal the new COVID cases. It sounds crazy, 2021, but yeah, that was the case this year. And Switzerland is really a lucky country, has a lot of assets, very innovative in general. We are not good at being digital. And I guess it's the case for a lot of countries. So we thought, what can we do? We are designers, we are makers, we like to help. What could we do to help our country and maybe your country to just get better at digital? And we thought there is one country in the world that is the world's most digital country, little tiny state of Estonia. And today, I'm so proud to welcome Annette Nouma because she's, wait for it, Digital Transformation Advisor for the Estonian government, the first fully online government. And you told us just before that you are also officially a diplomat. So this is really great to welcome you tonight. Thank you so much for joining, Annette. And please, everyone, I would like a big round of applause for Annette Nouma from Tallinn, Estonia, please. So,
I really haven't heard any applauses for some time. I used to do that every single day. And when I have been talking about my job to my friends, it's like how can you find something better where you can hear applauses every single day? And this was used to be my life before the COVID crisis. Right now, I only see the faces over the Zoom here. But first of all, thanks for having me over here today. I really appreciated this invitation from your side, and I'm always happy to share what Estonia has been doing here. And as we agreed with Steph as well, that it's not going to be just something boring at the end of your day. You have to see the slides and the numbers and everything, but let's just make it more fun. And let me just make it a little bit more clear for you how did this very tiny states in the northern side of the world has been able to go so crazy with digitalizing absolutely everything. When Steph also said now that I'm going to be the one choosing who is going to get the wine bottle, then definitely this person has to be as active as possible today. So
Exactly.
I'm going to keep my eyes on you and see how many
Yeah.
Christians can.
Actually, maybe we can ask you just to write where you are right now in the chat, so we kind of get to know you and where you are based and where you're calling from. Thank you so much, Annette, to join us. So my first question basically is just, could you maybe introduce yourself? And I would like to know how come you got to that position of representing the e-state of Estonia.
Yeah. So that's a very long story, obviously. I would just try to make that a little bit shorter. So when I got the idea, like the first place where I got the idea about like starting to work in this sector was when I used to live in France. Some time ago, I did part of my master's in Lyon, there in the university. And I was sitting in a class, and I had one of my classmates who made a presentation about e-democracy, and he was from Poland, but he talked about Estonia. And I was sitting quietly in a class and just hearing someone else to talk about my country and the solutions that we are offering to people. And I was thinking there, why I shouldn't be in this position talking about my own country, because that was like realization for me to understand how cool the society was where I lived before. I returned back to Estonia after my studies, and I was looking for the job offers in the CE Estonia Briefing Center for a very long time. To be exact, for 2 years, I had the eyes on every kind of job advertisement there, and I was just hoping that I would get the position there. I got to say that this was like a laugh from the first sight in a way when I finally got an interview there, and I felt that this is the right position for me. And luckily they felt the same way. So right now, what is my job is to consult different policymakers and business leaders in order to help them to proceed a little bit faster their digital transformation. And as Estonia has had an experience for doing that for more than 20 years, so obviously we have got so many lessons and so many experiences, what to do and what not to do. So what we try to do today is that to make everyone aware what kind of things they should be trying to avoid, and what kind of things they should follow in a way. And I got to be honest with you that there are no blue Mondays for me still after 2.5 years almost. Because seriously, it's one of the most interesting jobs you can ever think of, because what we do is that we try to map it in a way where one country is currently with their solutions, and what's missing, how can we support them, and then we welcome them either here or right now over the videos, and try to really like consult and help them with this entire process, because things are great here, but now it's time to help also others. So that was just very short. How did I get my job? But seriously, you just have to dream about something very like a lot, and then things will start to happen.
This is so great. So we are actually super lucky to have you with us on the show, because usually you talk to politicians, you go to meet presidents, and this is so great to have you as part of i2DAT Apero. So thank you so much. Maybe to give us a bit of context, can we ask you? So I've read that this whole project of e-government started actually 20 years ago in Estonia, which sounds crazy because it feels to me we are just starting right now in Switzerland. So maybe could you give us a bit of context and kind of like what was the timeline and the big milestones of these last 20 years?
So even actually more. The first document was drafted to the parliament in a year when I was born. So that was 27 years ago by today. And so in 1994, they drafted the first document to the parliament saying that, okay, now it's time to start digitalizing our state in a way. And the need for that actually came because we had a very rough historical background. If you guys know about Estonian historical background, we were under Soviet Union occupation for way too long time. And it was a very tough time for us, obviously. And then in the year 1991, we finally regained independence very peacefully. And still, like, if you're thinking about a state that has been under the control of another country, it's a very difficult time for a country to start everything from scratch. So we were lacking of money. We didn't have trust between the government agencies and the citizens. And then, of course, also there was not much transparency, and the corruption level was very, very high. And our new government was just like, okay, we need to do something. We need to do something completely different, because if we're going to do things in the same way as the rest of the people do, we're going to just fail and fail like a big time. And so they said, because luckily some of them had some kind of technology background already, and they were very young, by the way. Our former prime minister, so who was prime minister during that time, he was in his 30s, a very young guy. And these younger generations, like, they were a little bit more, I would say, open to try things out and not and maybe take a little more risky decisions in a way. And they did so, and they just said, okay, we don't have any guarantee that this is going to work, but let's just try it. Let's see how this will be start working. So as I said, 1994, the first document to the parliament, and then step by step, in the year 2002. So 19 years ago, we established the electronic identity cards already, which is compulsory document here in Estonia today. And so since then, everyone needed to have these electronic way of identifying themselves when they use online services. And then again, it has never happened overnight, obviously. This is what I want everyone to understand. It's been a process that you work so hard to make solutions working online. But maybe, like, is there anyone who wants to guess which was the first service that we offered online for our citizens? Which service was the first one that everyone could start using by the public?
I don't know. Taxis?
Exactly, yes.
Yes.
So taxis this was the first solution that we started offering by the end of 1999, since the year 2000. And since then, people have been declaring their taxes online. We just got the latest numbers that this year we had tax declaration open since February, and right now 98.7, I guess it was the final number of our people have been declaring their taxes by using the online solutions. 98. Wow. So it's a very huge number, and you can see that everyone are included for using services online.
Actually, I've read that. So I think the first EID card was issued in 2002, right?
Yeah.
And what I've read is that Finland was already doing it, but in Finland it wasn't mandatory to do to actually take an EID, and you decided to go like it's gonna be mandatory. What was the gamble, and how did the population react to that? Because to my understanding, when you force people to do something, they will go the other way around.
So let me start with the first side, why we made it compulsory, and then how people reacted. So first of all, I mean, we have to be thankful for our Finnish friends, because we got this idea from them, obviously, and they had this card before we did. I mean, Finland, as you said, as a very liberal country, decided to do this in a way that we're not going to make this compulsory. People have a choice whether they want to have a card or no. They can also just stick on a passport, and that's enough. But think about this for example, if you would be in a position of being a government member or just managing the entire state budget, if you allow your citizens to use either the passport or identity card, then you still have to keep your services working online and also on paper at the same time. So basically, you have to keep up two different systems all the time, which is a double cost and tons of just confusion. And when we were just checking for the numbers, like how many people actually applied for the cards and wanted to get the cards, so it was only very small. Yeah. And today I was just checking that only around 40% of Finnish population had the card, and in Estonia the number is 98.
Wow.
So that's the difference. Yeah. But regarding how people reacted to that, I always say to the policymakers, it's your responsibility. How do you communicate these things to your people? Because the thing is, if you come and say, okay, 40 years, everyone needs to get the card, you will get the card and you will get the card, or whatever they say there. It's not going to work. People are going to be very mad, and there's going to be protesters on the streets. But if you're going to say, by using this card, you're going to save this amount of time, you can sign documents online, you can use services online. These are going to be your advantages. If you communicate the advantages to people and also provide them information, how is the background, the infrastructure, and your security covered?
Annette, there is a great question from Cyril in the chat. Maybe Cyril, do you want to ask?
Sure. Hello, Annette. Thank you for the talk. My question was the following: what were at that time the strongest reactions against the card, and what were the reasons?
Yeah. So first of all, I want you to jump back to the year 2002.
Ooh.
How many of you? That was a very long time ago. I just started my first class. I was like very young. So if you think about back in that time, I don't even remember if I had a phone, like a mobile phone or a computer at home back at that time. It was a completely different time. So if we would start with this card today, I'm pretty sure there would be much more people who would say, oh, well, I know enough about this, and I hear from the media, and then there's tons of people spreading misinformation and disinformation about the cards. It wasn't back in that time. Seriously, that was a different time when people didn't have these questions because they were not just aware of these things. And obviously, it was again in our hands to introduce this card to people and saying, how does it work? What's the background? How is your privacy regulated there? But when we talk about the reactions, I really don't know if there had been some kind of reactions from the citizen side, but I know that there was some just political conversations there and some of the conflicts, that there were some political parties who were against that, and then the other ones who were supporting. So it's obviously on a political level, there is always discussions whenever you want to do something. But from the citizen side, again, that was fine. But what we did, which I find very cool, was that we also went to different marketplaces. So you had festivals. I guess you also in Switzerland have some festivals. Or
we had.
Oktoberfest, this is a super cool event, right? I guess you also celebrate that in Switzerland as in Germany. So obviously, if you go to that kind of events, there's tons of people and it's a fun event. You know that the government representatives, not specifically the ministers, but people who work in public sector, they went to these festivals with a little tent there where they were introducing the ID cards and just stopping people and have you got already your card? Have you start using this? How have you enjoyed this process? Asking feedback from your citizens is also important, so that you would show them that their opinion matters. And if you ask this opinion and at the same time you talk to them and you come on the same level, so you're not doing these things only on a military level, but you come to the same festivals that they go to, and you're there and you're like, I work in the Ministry of Economics and Communication. Here are the cards. Have you used them before? Let me go and help you. Let me introduce how does it work. It's always how do you communicate things. So that's also equal in a reaction level. Because I find to think that whatever problems or questions people have in their heads, education is able to solve absolutely everything, and it's up to in our hands.
This is great. This is great. I'm just thinking, is it that you were so good at communication in general that it worked, or is it also that you are a little country and basically you can be closer to your population? Do you think this will work, this strategy with a bigger country?
I mean, the message is the same. You also have media platforms, as we did back at that time. The solutions are the same. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people are back there, using this. And what our especially when I have been asking the same question from our ICT companies, and asking, do you think that it would be much more difficult to implement these solutions in a bigger state? And they usually start laughing, and they're just like, where I really wish as a company leader, CEO, that my solution would be used by 40 million people than just 1.3 million people. So the solution is still just one. You just might need more developers and people who are actually working in the fields and helping to setting it up. But still, there is also one president, one prime minister in your country. I mean, the way they communicate, and I also feel that it's responsibility of very high level leaders to communicate these things to people, because they are like influencers in a way. And today we have an amazing chance to also use some good influencers again that even younger generation or maybe elder generation are listening to, and communicating these messages to people. But of course you always have to be 100% transparent and honest, because if you lie about something, it's never going to work. And we can later on also talk about what happened in the year 2017 when we had the ID card crisis here, and that was also one of the very quick lessons that we managed to communicate this threat that we had to people, and ended up completely fine.
Yeah, because I think at this point it's important to maybe explain that at the center of this e-government there is the eID project. By the way, this was a project also in Switzerland. It got rejected a few weeks ago by the Swiss population. There was a popular vote, and the Swiss population didn't accept eID. I don't think it's because population is opposed to it. It's more there was an issue with the trust, can we trust our government that they have the capability of keeping our ID safe and all of this? So how did you deal with that? And maybe if you can give us an overview of how this eID works.
Yeah. So today, 99% of our services are fully functioning online, right? I mean, all the eyes are on us at the moment. Everyone are just looking if the security has been provided, and if you don't violate the privacy. So security, data protection is number one element there, and where our focus currently is. But the most special thing about our system, which I very much recommend other countries to follow, is that we have such wonderful thing called data tracker. So I can log into my state portal with my identity card, and there is a data tracker where I can track which government agency at what time of the day, which kind of information have been looking up after me. Every time that government agencies are exchanging my information or checking this, even the private sector institutions. For example, if my bank is checking for, I'm applying for a loan and I give them a permission to check about my police background, or if I have any court cases or any other loans, if they do check my background, I will get to know about this, because we have everything time-stamped and encrypted. And this gives me a feeling that I have the power over my information in my hands, not the other way around. And this matters, because if people understand that they are controlling their information and who is able to see this information, they feel much more secure. Because if I'm especially comparing one case here that I would like to bring it out as an example, we also have all of our medical records online since 2007, something like this, already a very long time. So I remember when I was a small kid and I went to see my family doctor, and she had the books about papers of people, patients that were supposed to visit there already on a table prepared in the morning. I was one of the first ones in the morning, and she left the room because she needed to do some analysis. I don't know. She said, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes. I mean, that I could have used this time or just checking it like someone else's medical records, because this information was on paper and there would never have been any traces that I have been checking this information. Today, this information is online, and every single time a doctor let's say they are stupid enough to leave their computer opened, and I would just go there, type in a personal code of my friend and see their medical records. What will happen is that this information would go all the way to my friend's data tracker, and they could see that this doctor, who might not be like their doctor, they would see that they were checking their information. And now what they're going to do is that they're going to report about this, and then the investigation will start. And what will happen is that they would start investigating and maybe see some of the cameras that I was in a room, I was checking the information at the time, and I would be punished, or the doctor will be punished because she left the computer opened. Do you trust to have your information on paper more than having this online when you have the control seeing who is accessing your information? That's where we should start with.
So all of this, it works, it's based on the blockchain, or how do you record all of these transactions?
So not the entire system is on blockchain. We do use blockchain in around I think it's around 10 12 different registers that are on KSI blockchain. And the medical records are fully on blockchain, by the way. But the data tracker works mostly because we have these X-road systems, so the data exchange platform that encrypts and timestamps every single move that we do there. But of course, when we talk about the blockchain and the KSI blockchain that we use in medical records, why this is so necessary there is because when one doctor, I mean, let's say if you go and see a doctor, so there is something wrong with you, you have, I don't know, a headache. They have to do usually around 4 different analyses, maybe some of the tests, then you go to MRT, whatever. One doctor, I mean, there is just one case of you there, and then doctors are adding information. The KSI blockchain makes sure that the next doctor who is adding information to your case is not able to edit or delete any information that has been submitted by the other doctor, so that everything will be, again, trackable in a way. And we put the hashes in every single move that we do. And we're not like even moving the information, but the hashes themselves. But of course, we're not storing any information or saving any information on blockchains, because that would be against the GDPR regulations.
Yeah. So everything you do is GDPR compliant. You really have to be, yeah.
100%. We are the EU country, and GDPR regulation is our law as well.
Great. There is a question from Frédéric. Frédéric, do you want to ask?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Annette. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I was wondering, with regards to the tracking concept you just talked about, are you the only one that has access to this tracing, or you can also give it to other people for other purposes?
Mm-hmm. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, obviously, if there's an investigation, then you can give this permission to someone else to see what's in your logbook system. But you are still the owner. There are exceptions for people, for example, who are sick or very old. So that I can become also representative for some of my family members, for example. So if my grandmother is not able to use their systems anymore, then I can become a representative of her, and I can control her information there too. But having the overview of the data tracker, yeah, I mean, we don't need to. But of course, when there's investigations, police can maybe check that as well when we give a permission. But of course, as well, like accessing our information is only possible for these institutions who are, I would say, who are approved to do so in a way. So, for example, if I'm applying for the loan from the bank, then the bank obviously can't just go randomly and check my medical records and make any request to patient portal and ask for my headaches, because this is none of their business. So every time that different registries want to exchange my information, they need to have mutual agreements which are signed, and again, so they just ask information from one point to another. But everything is based on a once-only policy. So me as a citizen, I only submit information one single time. Just to bring it out, one of the examples also, I mean, it's clear for me, but might be a mess for you. For example, my home address in Estonia is only stored in one single registry, and this is population registry. Do you guys know how many registries store your home address in Switzerland or wherever country you're right now joining us?
I guess, I don't know, like 50.
I mean, yeah, just think about, like, if you have moved to a new place,
yeah,
how many different registries do you need to inform about your new home address?
Yeah, it's crazy because it's all it's super it's really yeah, totally spread apart and totally yeah, I'm losing the word, but like each state or each city has a different yeah, registry, which is crazy.
And it's annoying, right, for you as citizens to think about this, to waste your time, like, okay, I moved, I need to inform this institution, this institution, the other one, and so on. Waste your time completely. We only inform population registry. And if anyone else then wants to know where I live, I don't know, police wants to come over, knock on my door, maybe someone wants to send me something from whatever, like I don't know what might be the reasons, then they request this information from population registry, not to me. And why we do that in a way, first of all, it's much more secure if information is decentralized, not like just centrally stored in one single place together. And then of course also to make the life of citizen much easier so that they wouldn't have to remember these things by themselves.
Yeah, actually, I read, because I prepared that talk a little bit. I read that the average Estonian citizen saves 5 days per year.
Yeah, but just by signing documents online. So this is only with one solution.
Oh wow! So did you quantify the whole time saving of the whole e-government?
We really tried to, but we currently are trying to find a university that would do this kind of research because we really don't have time for that. Because if you have had things working online for 20 years, how can you compare this to something like how much time do I save? But with just signing documents online, it's 5 days per every single citizen. And raise the hands people who wouldn't like to have extra week of vacation, who would say no for extra week of vacation because, I mean, you can save your time. And by the cost part for the government, this is around 2% of GDP every year that we save by using T-online signatures. And by the way, this money is equal to the money that we spend on defense and security to be like a member of NATO. I mean, which one is more important?
Okay, so when you present it that way, why do you think so many countries, including Switzerland, but are so slow or so reluctant to go all online? What are the reasons?
So I have had this conversation, especially with countries where life is pretty great. I would bring out some of the best places to live as just the life quality. I mean, it's Switzerland, it's Canada, it might be France there on a list. I mean, there are many countries there where the life is absolutely fantastic, right? I mean, if you are in a good position, usually, I mean, things are working fine for you. Do you feel a need of having a huge change in the system? Because what I have seen, for example, countries like Germany, when we have politicians from Germany visiting, they usually say, well, I mean, things are working. We have been doing these things like this on paper for years. Why should we change?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because your citizens are like craving for this change because they're tired of doing things on paper. I mean, just a comparison here. I know that in Germany, setting up a new business would take around 5 weeks' time. And you need to visit at least 6 different institutions to get the permission, I mean, all registration process and so on. In Estonia, we register a new business with just half an hour without having to leave our homes. And Estonia currently has the highest level of unicorns per capita in the European Union. Yeah. I mean, we already have 7 unicorns, so companies whose revenue is more than 1 billion euros. I mean, why is that? Because where business is easy, business will grow. And if you have built an infrastructure that lets people to focus on their ideas, but not on going to different institutions, doing all the registration process, and maybe after 5 weeks, they're already tired because it was an exhausting process. So let them to be, I don't know, let them to travel somewhere and get inspired there and let them open their company immediately. I guess this is the key here.
Yeah, because it's something, I don't know if it's very known, but I think Skype was invented in Estonia, right? Or TransferWise is from Estonia as well. And yeah, like also my question is like, it's because you had that ecosystem of startups and tech companies that you have been able to do it, or it's because the government went really fully online that fast that you managed to create that context?
I would say there are so many aspects there. I can't say that there is one single answer here, but I guess it's a combo of different things, obviously. But definitely there has been a very huge collaboration between the private sector and public sector since very early days. And I guess the government members shouldn't be there in their positions and just thinking, what we would do next. But what they should be doing is that they would need to have private sector company leaders being sitting on exact same table with them. And these are the people that they should be asking, what are the next steps we should be taking? Because, I mean, I work for the government and my salary is paid by the taxpayers in Estonia. I mean, they have employed me in a way and I need them to have a good life. And things need to be working nice in private sector so that I could be working here. So I work for people, not the other way around. And this is the thing that it's, in my opinion, elementary. We should understand about that first, and then work fully together with private sector companies to understand what they have to offer to us and what are their needs, and so that we can do this all together. Because I mean, there is no different sectors in my opinion, but it's a one society that needs to work hands in hands.
This is super interesting, actually, and I think that was one of the key issue with the vote in Switzerland, because like the population didn't accept that idea of EID, at least as of today, because the government said basically it will be managed by private companies, and people felt really bad about that the government will give our data, personal data, to private companies, like could be banks or insurance companies. So yeah, what is the right mix? Like, should the government own all of this and create all the technology, or should they distribute, some parts but not all of it? Like, what is your take on that?
I really don't understand why people had to be against that, because in Estonia everything is managed by private companies. I mean, I seriously, I have met tons of different government members across the world, and I've never met a government who would be able to do these things by themselves.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we don't have people working in public sector who would be having like this technology background and who would be developers themselves. We need to buy these solutions from private sector, and just one thing needs to be clear here. A state needs to be smart enough to sign agreements with a private sector company so that they are not the owners of anyone's private information. They're just there to store this information, and we even have regulations that they can't even see this information, but they are just storing them. And luckily we have all, like, I mean, usually they don't even store our information but under our names, but we all have personal codes. So just a number that you have been given already when you were born. And the number is just nothing also, I don't know, a random number that they would just give it to you, which many different, especially if they're very religious, are against. But the numbers are something that belongs to me, because it has my gender, it has my birth date, it has a city where I was born. And then the last number is calculated between the other ones, because obviously I wasn't the only lady born in this day on this day in this city. So that's, and then it's just like a number, and it's easier then to first of all to exchange information, and secondly also to store this so that you wouldn't be violating anyone's privacy there. So definitely, if you're interested in this process in Switzerland, I'm not aware what kind of agreements or just ideas that they have by the storing, but just make sure that you're not against something that is actually safe. Because seriously, you need to understand that private sector is not a bad thing. And one more thing, then I understood that someone has a question.
There are two people with questions.
Our former president, Mr. Ilves, he liked to say in many conferences that we shouldn't be afraid of a big brother, but we should be afraid of a small sister. Big brother, as we all know, should be someone who is looking after our information from the public sector and controlling, right? There is no such person existing here, but we should be afraid of a small sister. Can anyone guess who is a small sister that we should be so much afraid of?
Who has an idea? I have no idea. Like, is it another country that is an enemy country?
Think about this. A small sister that we should be afraid of when it comes to data and your private information. Are you having any kind of concerns in your head if you post something to Facebook on your social media platforms? I mean, Facebook, Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, all these kind of platforms are the small sister, because are you 100% sure that they're not selling your information to someone else? I mean, this is what they do. Facebook does that all the time. They sell your private information to, I don't know, to other private companies, and they are getting money from that. Is our government getting any money that they're storing our information? No, because they're not checking that. And if they would do that, I would be informed. Are you ever getting any notifications when someone from who works for Facebook or Google will check your private information and sells this to someone else? And this is a small sister that you should be afraid of.
Great. So we have, I think, two questions. So one from Federico and one from Cyril. So first, Federico.
Hello, Annette, and hello, everyone. Thank you for this webinar. I'm really enjoying it. My question, Annette, is the following. I have read in a couple of places that the key issue, the uniqueness of the Estonian e-government and digitalization has to do that from the very beginning, what you tried to achieve was to radically change the bureaucratic system, not to take what existed. Let's say, there are countries that have 70 taxes. Okay, let's have 70 taxes being paid online. We have, 200 bureaucratic procedures. Let's have 200 bureaucratic procedures being done online. But to dramatically change that, radically change, simplify. Do you agree with this? How do you see it? Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a very good point here. And having a zero bureaucracy was the name of the strategy, I would say, the secret name of the strategy, because bureaucratic processes, I mean, they're annoying and they waste money and time and everything from public sector, right? And they make people angry. So definitely, we did these things very drastically by changing the entire system and trying to find ways to take this bureaucratical level down to zero. And especially today, as hopefully soon we have time to also talk about the future, because we have some wonderful future plans where we are planning to make everything working proactively, so that honestly there would be zero bureaucracy, so that you as a citizen wouldn't even have to do anything, that the services, the benefits, the I don't know, like whatever, like services that you can even think of would be offered for you proactively, so that you wouldn't have to reach out to government agencies and asking for them. And this is something that is pretty special.
Amazing. So we have a question from Cyril, who really wants to win the bottle of wine.
We have some, but thanks. It's more about the topics. It's really interesting. Thank you so much for putting that together. It's in the same direction as the question before. I just have the impression that what you did and what we feel is to do a bit like Steph, is putting the customer in the center. What do customer needs? And I have the impression that our government during the last decades or even 20 years haven't done anything like that. But also you said, because people, they don't see the value. When you don't see the value, you don't see a reason to change. And it's only when you say out loud, well, you're going to save 5 days per year in time queuing for changing your papers. You're going to save so much money if you're a government. Why don't we see those numbers more often, do you think? Because I've read a lot about digital transformation, but that's the first time I've heard those shocking numbers, and I want to know why.
Well, that's a good question now, and honestly, we've been trying to promote these numbers and to I would say to market them a little bit more, so that everyone would understand about that. But that's one of the reasons why the Estonia Briefing Center was built in a way, because in 2019, when the borders were still opened, we hosted more than 11,000 people physically in Estonia at the Estonia Briefing Center. And that was a place where you could make people to I would say to crave for digitalization and these solutions, because what we do at the briefing center rooms is that we actually show people how these things work and talk about the numbers, and so then they go home and then they're gonna start really craving for these things. I mean, you can't crave for the things that you're not aware of, right? And this is what I see especially, and was your point as well. You have to see life in a better side to be actually craving for that. If you live in a small village and you have never seen how is life in Paris, then you can never dream about like being in Paris. But if you have been there, and then you can start off wishing things to be in the same way. So definitely, I guess. We should do a little bit more work, even on also promoting the advantages and the numbers and everything, so that people would understand about this. But I really wish that they could be also. I'm a very big fan of the European Union, but I guess that there should be also a little bit stronger approach from the EU side regarding these numbers and pushing people to start taking the actual steps. Because I mean, the pandemic time was a clear example to us that it is already too late. We should have done these things already years and years ago. And especially when it comes to medical records, which are not online in most of the countries. So yeah, I guess that's the key there.
So about that. Sorry, Cyril.
Just to conclude. So I think citizens tend to forgive more things to the government than they do to private companies. If I'm not happy with a phone, if I'm not happy with my car, I'm gonna ask for more and I'm gonna change it. And I think what happens with everything we have to deal with the government, we can't change. I can't say, oh, I'm gonna go to Estonia. It seems to work way better. I can't do that. And if we could, I think government will be playing the same competition as private company to put customer in the center. And to be, okay, what can we do to serve them better? But since there is no competition, and this is what we said in the chat before, is like, well, it has been like that for the last 20 years. What should we change? Yeah. And it enraged me. So that was it. Sorry.
A note for you that I just wanted to say, Estonia also have this fantastic thing called the e-residency card, so that everyone, even like you in Switzerland or Paris, or we have people from Norway joining, so that you can be there, but you can become an Estonian e-residency card holder, and you can start your business in Estonia without actually physically being in Estonia or never coming to Estonia. And when we started with it, and we had around, I guess from Germany right now, we have I guess it was around 7,000 people who in the past 5 years already have gotten the card. That was a wake-up call for Germany, and we received so many, again, policymakers coming to Estonia because they were like, our people are starting to registering their business in Estonia. There has to be something there. and that was a point where they realized, okay, we're going to start using people because they're going to go somewhere and register their business in an environment that it's more flexible. And that's the key there. I mean, if people are starting to saying, okay, you're not changing anything internally in our country, I'm done with this. I'm going to go somewhere else where things are working fine. But what you can do, as I said, that you can't do anything. You can become a politician and then make the changes. Run your campaign of making Switzerland fully digital state, and then I can promise to you that I will ask my friends in Switzerland to vote for you.
Great. So I don't think we're going into politics right now, but so a question about government by itself. Like you said, it's not the government who should build these solutions. It's way too technical, and they are politicians. But like, what is the percentage of politicians in Estonia who are tech savvy and who have a role like yours, into digital?
Very hard to bring out some of the numbers. What I do know is that it becomes more and more popular to know about these things, because we like to collect the data in order to make smarter decisions. And that's why you need to be tech savvy too, right? So we have tons of people who work in different ministries. Almost in every of our ministry, we have the innovation department, where obviously people are very tech savvy. Even in our prime minister office, there is a different department who is responsible for the digitalization aspects. So I would say more and more. And what I have also seen that some of our former ministers, when they have finished their jobs, they have moved all the way to the private sector and in ICT parts, which is super cool as well, in my opinion, that they finished their time being a politician or a minister, and then they're going to move on onto the private sector and will start working for IT sector, because why not? And so I see this becoming more popular.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to be elected at a prominent position in Estonia, I don't know, president or prime minister, to understand digital? Or it's still not the case?
No, other way around. I mean, to be working on a field is, in my opinion, where everyone should start. I'm not a big supporter of young people going all the way to politics and just staying there, but they have to see the field first, and then to understand like about like what kind of decisions they should be making, because they can see then that what is working, what's not working. But that's a different story here.
Great. So there is a tough competition about the bottle of wine from Frederic. He has a question.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to go back to Cyril's topic and ask, about the development of the EID concept. Do you feel like that the tech choice that you made to support the product influenced a lot, like the functionalities and the interactions possible at the end, or was it the other way around, where you really said, we want those features, we want those way of interacting to be possible, and then we will find the tech or create the tech for it?
The thing is that the ID card has changed also in time, and quite a lot, because obviously, I guess the most difficult thing about like just developing digital services in public sector is that you have to keep up with the change of technology, and hackers are getting smarter. I mean, systems are getting more advanced. Then obviously it's up to you also to keep up with this. So definitely, what we did in a right way was the data exchange platform, first of all, like how do we exchange information, and the decision that the card should be used both by the private sector and also by the public sector. There was some kind of just like infrastructure and the basis and the framework that we did by the ID card that was very, very okay and fine and good. But of course, again, the technical background has been changing in time drastically, and it will continue to do so, because as I said, in 2017 we had some kind of crisis with this, because there was someone like a researcher or something who discovered a threat in the system, and they addressed this to the government, and they investigated this, and it turned out to be the actual threat. What we did was the Prime Minister was talking on TV and said, everyone who have been issued the card between this time, please to go use your card online and just update this entire like security system there. Again, I mean, you have to be open for the changes in the system too.
I think actually I read it was the very first time a whole country got attacked, right?
2007 was the attack. 2017 was just the ID card crisis. But 2007, we had some internal crisis here, as we're live, so I'm not going to go in details with who attacked Estonia, but I mean, we can all guess.
As a little sister.
And that was a wonderful lesson, by the way, to us, because that was like knock on the door saying like, okay, there is a threat and we need to address this. And of course we got some lessons. Luckily, we didn't lose any information. Only some of the private sector, like banks, were attacked, and then the media platforms were taken down. But none of the government information was leaked or I don't know, just attacked in a way, because of the X-Road system, and everything was decentralized. But of course we. Since then, we started focusing much more on the security aspects, and a year after, NATO brought its cybersecurity headquarters, CCDCOE, to Estonia, Tallinn. If you ever come to visit there, the headquarters is right over here. If anyone is interested in working in cyber fields, come all the way here, work in Tallinn with NATO experts, and you can live in this beautiful city.
There is actually a fascinating concept. It's data embassy. Can you talk a bit about that?
So I guess everyone also in your everyday life, you sometimes still like to have backup plans. When you're taking some risks or doing something new, then you will still think about what if things gonna go wrong, or what if something very bad is happening. Having a backup plan is always a great thing, and helps us to sleep more peacefully. Estonian backup plan is called Data Embassy, and our Data Embassy is based in Luxembourg today. And what is the Data Embassy there is that we have backed up 10 of our registries and institutions to servers in Luxembourg. So there is a backup store in Luxembourg servers, and Lively, which is put information there. So if something would happen here, we could get this information back from the Luxembourg servers. So there is a backup store. And why this is necessary, because we can never be sure that there is no like, I don't know, a huge storm I mean, in Estonia there are usually no storms, but think about a country that would be Caribbean, And there are always storms, and if you have even your server places, then you should have a backup store somewhere else too. Any guesses why Estonia chose Luxembourg as the first place for our data embassy? Why Luxembourg is special that we were like, okay.
Because not Switzerland. I don't know.
Well, there are many reasons for that, obviously. I mean, first of all, they had a very great infrastructure. Secondly, also, they had some competence in this sector. And then one important thing, in my opinion, is that Luxembourg is also a politically very independent country. Mm-hmm. So I don't know any country who would be in bad terms with Luxembourg. I mean, we are pretty independent in all the ways. So obviously we can't choose countries who are in fights with other countries all the time because we can't trust that there. Mm-hmm. But the server there, it's actually based on the Vienna Convention. So like having a physical embassy, the same regulations apply, but there are no people working there, or just like an embassy, but this server room where our stuff is stored there. And no one, by the way, can access this room if you're not Estonian. If there is even a fire, even in a case of a fire, no one from Luxembourg can enter into the room without the Estonian being there.
That's crazy. So you need Estonian firemen to come to extinguish the fire.
Yeah, which takes quite a lot of time.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So maybe to wrap up, and maybe if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to add them in the chat. We still have a couple of minutes. So my last question really is about what's the future for the e-government of Estonia? How much better can you make it? And yeah, what are your plans?
Mm-hmm. The future looks very bright, in my opinion. We have some great plans. So we're working on having a very much proactive government. So as I said before, we want to be the ones that are approaching to people and saying, okay, you can get the benefits, you can get this service, like whatever. So we would like to remind them things beforehand that they would even think about these things. And one of the examples, just to bring it out, what proactive government means, when a baby has been born here in Estonia, then the doctor is going to register a baby's birth. Parents will officially become parents, and then they can register a baby's name online without having to go anywhere. And then automatically, proactively, the government system, it can be also in the middle of the night, will contact you by the email, which is again automated, and will let you know that congratulations on your newborn baby. You are now able to get also your family benefits. So we will kindly ask you to choose now if a mother is going to stay home for the entire time, or if you want to divide this. So if you want 1 year for the mom to stay at home, and then like half a year, the dad will stay at home. And then you choose these things, and then you confirm your bank account, and then you will get the money. I mean, this is how we want to like reach out to people, so that they could be focusing on the baby and just like their family stuff, not on asking us something. And then of course also AI technology will be something very essential, because we have been replacing just in last year already 50 public services by AI technology. This is linked to the justice sector, mobility sector, security sector, in so many different ones. Of course, also more and more in healthcare sector. So AI technology, proactive services, and of course also cross-border data exchange, so that we already exchange information on a cross-border level with some of the countries that are on the same level that we are today. So I really, really do hope that all of these plans are going to work out, and our citizens will get the best customer experience that they can even dream about in a way.
Great. I think that was the word of the end. Thank you so much, Annette, for being with us tonight. We are super, super honored to have welcomed you. So everyone, I would like a big round of applause for Annette Nouma, please.
Bravo.
Thank you so much. That was really, really great. By the way, so Frédéric and Cyril were battling fiercely to win that bottle of wine. Who do you think should deserve to get the wine?
It's so difficult to make that decision, because I was just had in my head these two people here. let me do this in a way, because it's very hard to choose from my side, just because you asked almost the same question, like almost the same amount of questions. Maybe you can just tell me which city you are at the moment, and I'm gonna choose the city that I like the more.
Ooh. I'm in Lausanne.
I'm in Sion.
Sorry?
I'm in Sion.
All right.
Zion.
Well, that didn't make these things a little bit.
No, but I think you should actually read the chat, because one of them said, it's Frédéric, he said he doesn't drink wine, so I think you should give it to Cyril.
Oh, okay. So that goes all the way to Cyril.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you so much,
you,
Annette, for
Annette.
being with us tonight. And thank you, everyone, for attending live. This was i2day Apéro number 5. And have a great evening. See you. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.